Everybody like and subscribe, praise the bell icon. Story number 1.
It was a quiet Tuesday night in El Paso, Texas, when Luis Delgado, a 24-year-old college student, decided to stop at a Taco Bell just off the highway. He had just finished a long shift stocking shelves at a local warehouse and was starving. The drive-thru was empty, and the parking lot had only 2 other cars. It was almost too perfect. Quick, cheap food before heading home. He pulled up, placed his usual order, 3 beefy 5-layer burritos and a Baja Blast, and rolled up to the window. The employee who handed him the food didn't speak. She had a blank stare, her eyes glassy and unfocused, like she hadn't slept in days. Luis thanked her awkwardly, but she didn't respond, only slowly sliding the window shut. He parked in the far corner of the lot to eat. As he took his first bite, he noticed something strange. The beef didn't taste right. It was off. Not spoiled, but something darker. It had a metallic tang that made his stomach churn. He pulled a chunk of the meat out and held it up to the dome light. It didn't look like ground beef. The texture was stringy, fibrous, almost like he gagged and spat it out the window. Annoyed and unsettled, he grabbed the receipt to complain. But the receipt didn't have a store number or even a phone number, just the words, "Thank you for participating," and a long string of numbers that didn't look like a regular transaction ID. It looked more like a date and time from the future. 2 days in the future at 3:08 a.m. Luis was creeped out enough to leave, but when he tried to start his car, it wouldn't turn over. Dead. His battery had been working fine earlier. Now it was completely lifeless. He pulled out his phone. No signal. That's when he noticed all the lights inside the Taco Bell had gone dark, but the drive-thru window was open. He swore it had just closed a minute ago. Luis got out, figuring maybe someone inside could help jumpstart his car. As he approached, he saw movement inside. Shadows pacing back and forth quickly, almost frantically, but no one made a sound. He knocked lightly on the glass door. No answer. He knocked again, harder this time. The lights inside flickered on. For a second, Luis thought he saw at least 5 people in Taco Bell uniforms standing perfectly still behind the counter, facing the door. But the moment the lights flickered back off, they were gone. He backed away slowly, chest tightening with panic. Then the overhead speaker crackled to life. The voice that came through was not the woman who served him. It was deep, wet sounding, like someone speaking through thick blood. "We're not closed. You can't leave until you finish your meal." Luis turned and ran for his car, yanking the door open, slamming the lock, and trying again and again to start the engine. Then he saw them, 3 Taco Bell employees walking slowly toward his car. Their faces were expressionless, their movements jerky, unnatural. One of them had something dark smeared all over her apron. As they got closer, Luis realized it was blood. But it wasn't fresh. It was dried, crusted, and black. One of them pressed her hand on the driver's side window. Her nails were yellowed, thick. Her skin looked wrong, like plastic stretched over something that wasn't human. The overhead lights in the parking lot went out, pitch black. The only light now was from inside his car. He turned the key one last time, praying. The engine roared to life. He slammed it in reverse, tires squealing, barely missing one of the figures who had stepped behind him. As he peeled out of the parking lot, the headlights briefly illuminated the restaurant again. It wasn't a Taco Bell anymore. The sign above the building read Taco Bell. Just that. No logo, no slogan. The letters were mismatched, slanted, and faded, like they'd been painted on hastily with a dyeing brush. When Luis finally got home, shaken and pale, he ran to his bathroom and threw up the entire meal. In the toilet, he saw it again, that same fibrous meat, but now in the bright bathroom light, it was unmistakable. It was not beef. It looked disturbingly close to something he dissected in anatomy class. He never spoke of it again, never went back. But 2 nights later, at exactly 3:08 a.m., his doorbell rang. No one was there, but taped to the door was another Taco Bell receipt. The date was exactly 1 year in the future. Same time, same location. The words printed at the bottom chilled him to the bone. "You didn't finish your order."
Story number 2.
At first, it seemed like a normal late-night shift for Jenna, working alone at the Taco Bell near an industrial park on the edge of town. The neon sign buzzed faintly outside, flickering just enough to cast weird shadows across the empty parking lot. She liked the quiet, Less rush, less noise, fewer customers to deal with. But tonight was different. Around midnight, a man walked in wearing a baseball cap pulled low and a hoodie zipped up tight. He didn't order anything. Instead, he stood in front of the counter and just stared. Jenna tried to greet him, but he said nothing, just kept watching her. His eyes never moved. They stayed locked on hers like he was trying to peel her apart. Uneasy, Jenna glanced toward the kitchen. Her coworkers were all gone. She was definitely alone. The man suddenly spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you know what happens to the people who work here?" Jenna shook her head, trying to keep calm. "No, I don't," he smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was twisted and dry like cracked earth. "They never leave." Before she could ask what he meant, the lights flickered and the power went out. The restaurant was swallowed by darkness, except for the glow from the emergency exit signs. Jenna's phone had no signal. Then, from the back kitchen, she heard scraping sounds, like claws dragging across the tile floor. The man stepped closer and whispered, "They feed on the workers. The ones who try to walk out after midnight, they're taken." The emergency lights blinked off. The power surged back, but Jenna was alone at the counter. The man had vanished. She ran toward the back exit, but it was locked tight. Frantic, she heard faint whispering all around her, echoing through the vents and walls. The whispers repeated, "You can't leave. You're part of it now." Then the ventilation system kicked on full blast, and the smell hit her. Rotten meat mixed with something metallic. Her stomach churned. She looked up to see shadows moving in the vents, crawling closer like hungry things waiting to drop down. She screamed and ran toward the front door, pulling hard on the handle. It wouldn't budge. She pounded the glass, yelling for help, but the parking lot was empty. The whispers grew louder, filling the room with chilling voices, dozens of them chanting, "Feed, stay, forever." Jenna's vision blurred as the shadows spilled from the vents and surrounded her, cold and clammy hands grabbing her arms, pulling her back. The next morning, the Taco Bell opened as usual. The new shift arrived, but Jenna was never seen again. The only sign of her was a single torn Taco Bell apron left on the floor near the kitchen, smeared with something dark. Employees say if you work the graveyard shift alone, sometimes you can still hear the whispers coming from the vents, begging for release or a meal.
Story number 3.
Marcus had been craving Taco Bell for weeks. Not just any Taco Bell, the one on the outskirts of his hometown, the one rumored to close down soon. The kind of place locals whispered about because something off always seemed to happen there after dark. He pulled up late one night, around 2 a.m., the parking lot deserted except for a single black sedan parked under a flickering street lamp. The doors creaked as he pushed inside. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sickly yellow hue over the empty tables. Behind the counter stood a man with a stiff smile, too perfect, too forced. His uniform was spotless, but his eyes were sunken, almost hollow. "Welcome to Taco Bell," he said in a voice that sounded like it was scraping from the bottom of his throat. Marcus ordered a Crunchwrap Supreme and a large soda. The man's smile didn't falter as he packed the food, but when he handed it over, Marcus noticed something weird. The bag felt heavier than it should. Outside, Marcus ripped open the Crunchwrap and took a bite. Immediately, a strange bitterness flooded his mouth. The meat inside wasn't meat at all. It was something sinewy, with little hairs embedded in it. He dropped the food, gagging, and looked inside the bag. The soda cup was filled with a thick, dark liquid that wasn't soda. It sloshed ominously as he moved it. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're next." His heart pounded. He looked back inside the restaurant. The man was gone. Marcus heard a soft scraping behind him like fingernails on concrete. He whipped around. No one. But then the black sedan's headlights snapped on, illuminating the parking lot with an unnatural glow. From inside the car, a figure emerged. No face, just a smooth, dark void where a face should be. It moved closer, slow and deliberate. Marcus sprinted to his car, fumbling with the keys as the figure glided after him, silent but relentless. He managed to start the engine and peeled out of the lot, glancing in the rearview mirror to see the figure dissolve into the shadows like smoke. The next day, news broke that the Taco Bell on the outskirts had been shut down permanently. An investigation found the restaurant's freezer had contained unidentifiable organic matter, some of it fresh. No explanation was ever given. Marcus never went near Taco Bell again. But sometimes, late at night, he swears he hears scraping nails on concrete and a whisper in his ear that says, "You're next."